Welcome to the Whole Life Podcast Show. We are in part 2 of Road to Recovery, our initial introduction to inner healing for adult children of dysfunctional families. And the last time we went over dysfunctional family characteristics, we talked about the rules. Don't talk, don't feel, don't trust. We also talked about types of dysfunctional families. We talked about we talked about enmeshed families. We talked about abusive families. We talked about addictive families and neglectful families. We gave biblical examples of some of those families, and we gave some scriptures. So today we're in part 2. And I want to remind you that your family may have shaped your story, but it doesn't define your future. You know, often I work with people, whether it be in my clinical practice or in my ministry, where within the ministry, we're working in the biblical domain of the heart and healing the broken heart. And there is a cry of, why am I still feeling this? This was 20 years ago. Yes, these parts are coming up for healing. And we do have child parts. We have our most adult self. You know, when you think about yourself, when you are the best self, when you are the most nurturing, sober-minded self with clarity, connection, compassion, we're in touch with the Lord, in touch with ourselves, in touch with others. And that part is the part of us that also can help with the strength of Jesus to parent those child parts on the inside. We often have child parts. One model, Internal Family Systems, talks about the vulnerable child. That's the child that feels so much shame, that feels so much pain. And then we have protectors of that vulnerable child, which are also other child parts. The manager is keeps everything under control, is the inner critic, is very hard on ourselves, can be very judgmental of ourselves and others. And then we have what Richard Schwartz calls the firefighter. I think it should be the fire starter. And that's the one that creates the smoke clouds and the chaos, like the eating disorder or shopping addiction or cluttering addiction or substance abuse or acting out. That part creates the smoke screen to protect you from feeling the vulnerable child. In Janina Fisher's structural dissociation model, she talks about us all having, we have core self, but then we also have the attached part of us. Will you love me? Will you love me? And often that part, it's kind of like, well, that's not quite right. But can you love me? Can you love me? Then we have the flight part. I got to get away from here. I got to get high, or I got to, escape. And then we have the fight part. I'm going to fight with you. No. Or I'm going to fight with me and be critical of me. We have the collapse part that just wants to stay in bed the whole time. We have the part that feels all the shame. And we also have the part that wants to fix. Let me fix it. Everything will be better if I fix it. And fixing can be a response to trauma. This over-fixing, researchers call it the tend and befriend. So we are again in our transformative series, Inner Healing of Adult Children of Dysfunctional Families. And we're going to be talking about this for a few more weeks. So if you grew up with addiction, emotional neglect, abuse, even like food scarcity, safety scarcity, this podcast is for you. You can go from surviving to thriving. All right, today we're going to talk about the 14 traits of an adult child of alcoholics and or the laundry list for children of dysfunctional families, adult children. So I'm going to read these, and I want you to identify which ones represent a real struggle in your life. So this is directly from Adult Children of Alcoholics and Dysfunctional Families, a 12-step program. We became isolated and afraid of people and authority figures. We are afraid of authority figures when we've been abused by authority figures. We isolate ourselves because we're afraid of people. We become approval seekers and lost our identity in the process. Sometimes we don't let our inner yes and our outer yes match, or our inner no and our outer no. Inside, we're feeling, no, I can't do this, but we say yes out of people pleasing. And that causes us to slowly kind of die on the inside. And then suddenly we just can't stand this relationship and need to get out. We're frightened by angry people and personal criticism. This fear of, please don't tell me I'm wrong, please, because it feels like you're going to fall off the edge of the earth, because it was not safe to be criticized when you were little. We either become addicts or marry them or both, or find another compulsive personality to fulfill our abandonment story, trauma. So we're replaying that trauma. We live from the viewpoint of victims, and we are attracted by that weakness in our friendships and in our love relationships. Listen to this one. We have an overdeveloped sense of responsibility, and it's easier for us to be concerned with others rather than ourselves. And this actually keeps us from doing the work on our own selves. This is a big one. We get guilt feelings when we stand up for ourselves instead of giving in to others. There's this false self that we put on. Maybe if I tell you yes, I won't feel guilty. And so guilt, this false guilt, becomes a motivator in our lives rather than the love of God and faith. So love and faith are in purpose, love, faith, and purpose. We're made to be motivated out of those motivators, not out of false guilt, not out of unhealthy fear. We become addicted to excitement, or other people say pejoratively drama, or anxiety, and these tumultuous relationships. We confuse love and pity and tend to love people we can pity and rescue. There's that fixed response. We have, number 10, we have stuffed our feelings from our traumatic childhoods and have lost the ability to feel or express our feelings because it hurts so much. And so this is the denial. Don't talk, don't feel, don't trust yourself. Do you have a hard time trusting yourself? Number 11, we judge ourselves harshly, and we have a very low self-esteem. Oh, beloved, there's that inner critic, that part of self, that part of self, that fight part that wants to fight with ourselves. We are dependent personalities who are terrified of abandonment and will do anything to hold on to a relationship in order to not experience painful abandonment feelings, which we receive from living with sick people growing up who were never there for us emotionally. Okay, alcoholism, but it could be untreated mental illness, untreated cluttering, untreated addiction, untreated rage is a family disease, and we become para-alcoholics and took on the characteristics of that disease, even though we did not pick up the addiction. Do you ever wonder, like, oh my gosh, did I just act like my mother or my father, my abuser? Oh, beloved, that's why we take a non-judgmental inventory of ourselves before the Lord, picking up every rock, knowing that they're under grace, we're under grace, and that trauma is passed down generationally. We know that from Scripture. We know that from research. And we talked about that a little bit last podcast. And then we become reactors rather than actors in our lives. Do you feel like you're constantly reacting with defensiveness, criticism, stonewalling, or even contempt, rather than thinking, what do I want here? I'm going to kindly set my boundary. I'm going to say what my boundary is. And that's okay if someone else doesn't respect that boundary. You can choose to not respect it, but I'm not going to participate. Boundaries are not about controlling others, but boundaries are about what I will tolerate. So when we come out of the laundry list, as we receive recovery, we begin to experience the opposite, being our true self in Jesus. Now, the laundry list doesn't have Christian themes in it, but there's a lot that's there that is true to our experience and true to the broken heart. When we think about the broken-hearted Christian, we see that false guilt, that beating ourselves up, that condemnation. We see people-pleasing rather than pleasing the Lord, that idol of maybe if I get approval. Now, there is another laundry list, and this side of it has more of the narcissistic tendencies, and I'm not going to go through all these, but the other side of it, and this is for adult children as well, sometimes rather than feeling like the fixer and the victim, people become the aggressor. So the first one would be to cover up our fear of people and our dread of isolation. We tragically become the very authority figures who frighten others and cause them to withdraw. And then to avoid becoming enmeshed, we become rigidly self-sufficient. We disdain the approval of others. And you can look up the laundry list and the other laundry list and get more of the 14 characteristics of the flip side. But it's basically the flip side, or the other laundry list, is where we become more self-sufficient, disdain needing approval, disdain any weakness, and all that is still out of the same underlying unmet needs and traumas from childhood. And I want to encourage you that recovery really does happen, that Jesus really does heal the brokenhearted. Romans 12:2 says, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world. Do not conform to the pattern of your family. Do not conform to the pattern of your trauma, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." And that is a process. God's transformation is available as we heal from past wounds. All right, let's talk about the triangle of pain, what I call the triangle of pain, also called the Karpman drama triangle. And then we'll also talk about the empowerment triangle. Okay, now when we are in relationships and we feel that twist of our stomach, is what the way I like to describe it. We feel that sympathetic nervous system twist of our stomach. We might be on the triangle of pain. And dysfunctional families live on the triangle of pain and teach us to live on the triangle of pain. On the triangle of pain, no one is okay. It's the persecutor, the victim, and the rescuer. All right, so it's a triangle. No one's okay. The persecutor persecutes and says, "You're not going to be okay, and I'm not going to be okay till you do this how I say to do it." The persecutor is angry. That's that defensiveness and that criticism. The rescuer is the one who tries to save and fix others. And so they're often neglecting their own needs. And it's, you're not going to be okay till you let me fix you. I'm not going to be okay till I fix you. And then the victim, that's the one who feels helpless and unable to change their circumstances, their emotions. They don't have any self-efficacy in the moment. I won't be okay until you rescue me. So here, no one is just okay in the Lord. Everyone needs something from someone else or to do something someone else tells them to do to be okay. And that's not the model. Yes, we carry each other's excessive loads according to Galatians 3, but it says everyone should carry their daily load. I'm sorry, that was Galatians 6. So in the triangle of pain, we're often moving from one role to another. So we can be in a conversation and we can be like, "What? What did you say?" So that might be the persecutor. And the minute someone persecutes, the person they're talking to is tempted to get on the triangle of pain to either be the victim or the rescuer, or sometimes even persecute right back. All right, so someone says, "What did you say?" And then the person feels afraid for a minute, and so they feel like a victim, and then they try to fix it. No, that's not what I meant. And then they might get angry. All this can happen within a few seconds, and then they persecute back. "What do you mean, what did I say? I've explained this so many times." And so here we go, taking turns going on the triangle of pain. All right, so we want to step off of the triangle of pain and interact adult to adult, where everyone is okay. Everyone carries their own load, like Galatians 6. Now, we can be the challenger, which encourages other people, encourages their growth, holds other people accountable, helps, facilitate people, push people towards their best. The coach empowers others to help themselves and guide them towards self-empowerment or God empowerment. And then the creator takes responsibility for their actions and partners with God to co-create a good life, a life full of purpose and positive outcomes rather than being reactionary. So we can step off the triangle of pain onto the empowerment triangle. And here, I'm okay and you're okay. And there is a loving God. I'm not it. And he's there for me and there for you. So it's a totally different paradigm. And when I think about communication, I think about Ephesians 4:29. Do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths, but only what is helpful for building others up according to their needs. So we want to function and have better, more healthy communication. We want to think about our communication. And I want to encourage you to really think about how you are talking to others, how you are talking to yourself, and what role do you tend to play? And last podcast we also talked about the roles in a dysfunctional family of the where it can be very rigid, where one is the hero, they're always fixing, shining, where one is the lonely child, they're off by themselves, feeling like a victim but acting like everything's okay. The one that acts out, they tend to be the persecutor. There's the mascot, the joker. So there's these different roles, and all of them cycle around the triangle of pain, but some occupy some spaces more than others. All right, well, that is a lot of food for thought. We're gonna do a heart journey. My heart journey is under my computer here. We're gonna do a heart journey activation here called Mind Mansion, and this activation helps you have more stability in your mind. And then next week we're gonna talk about attachment styles, and so we'll talk more about attachment styles. But I thought that today we would end with an activation. So if you're driving, make sure you listen to this later if you're operating machinery, because I want you safe. All right, I wonder if you could get cozy, feel your sit bones. Feel free to close your eyes if it's safe to do so. Feel your body. See if you can find a place in your body that feels most anchored. And we're going to ground in that place. If that place in your body that feels anchored, that feels safe, that feels okay, not a place with pain, not a place with tension, but a place that feels the most okay in your body. Ground into that place. And if it were a color or a texture, what would that be? So maybe you think it's like pink fluffy clouds. So let yourself be with those pink fluffy clouds, knowing that everything's okay. And we're going to move into the Heart Journey Mind Mansion tool. So I wonder if you could imagine that your mind is a giant mansion, and it's full of the Holy Spirit, it's full of Jesus, and it's so warm and cozy. But it also has so many different rooms, and every room is a unique experience. And you have control here in your mind mansion, where it has many rooms like the kingdom of heaven created for you. But every room has doors and windows, and you're never trapped. And not only that, you can teleport from room to room. And I wonder if you could imagine you and Jesus walking down the halls, the wonderful, beautiful halls of your mind mansion. and all the places that you can go and that you can take Jesus. Maybe you want to get on the elevator and go up into some rooms that have places that you went on vacation, or happy holiday memories, or happy memories with friends. And thinking about what you see, what you hear, what you taste and feel and smell in these happy memories. Allowing yourself to just let those positive sensations with Jesus roll over you. Maybe you want to go back in time into a happy memory from childhood and just be with Jesus in that memory. And the beautiful thing about our mind mansion is that we have the mind of Christ. And that means we can go all the way up into the heavenly places with Jesus. What would it be like for you and your child parts to spend the day with the Lion of Judah, walking around with this amazing lion who's protecting you and loving you and is there for you, and just softening into all the love in that place and all the wholeness, letting all the weight fall off as your fierce protector watches over you, maybe watches you play in the meadows, knowing that you are so loved. Okay, and maybe wiggling your fingers or toes. And that was just a little encounter. We do encounters with the Lord, healing encounters in our Heart Journey book, but also in our Heart Journey community that's now only open for women, and now's a great time to join. And you can go to drbarbaraministries.org and hit join the community and join us. It's masterclass and community. It has so many benefits. It's cheaper or as cheap as a soda a day. So it's super cheap. And I wonder if you are dealing with rejection. I want to encourage you that I have a free download for you on healing from rejection, 10 tools to move from rejection to confidence. Go to drbarbaraministries.org/rejection, and I have that gift for you, a small book and download for you. Okay, beloved, we're going to continue on next week. We're going to talk about attachment styles, and we're going to talk about the impact of the parenting we went through, and we're also going to talk about the adverse childhood event study and what that means. Beloved, you are treasured. You are so loved. And you are the reason I do this. You are the reason we do this. You are a gift from the Lord. And if no one has told you so today, I want you to know I love you. I will see you next week. Mwah. Make sure you subscribe to our podcast on YouTube, on Apple, wherever you listen to podcasts, and also follow me on TikTok and Instagram. I love you so much.